I used to believe my father was a hero. When I was little, he was the strongest person I knew, lifting me onto his shoulders so I could see over the crowds at the town fair, holding my hand when I was scared of the dark, promising me that nothing bad would ever happen as long as he was there. Then my mother died, and everything changed. Grief does strange things to people. Some break down, some shut the world out. My father did something else. He let someone else take over his life. Her name was Victoria. At first I wanted to like her. Really, I did. She was beautiful in the way that stepmothers in fairy tales are. Too poised, too perfect, too much. She smelled like expensive perfume, wore heels that clicked sharply on our wooden floors, and spoke in a voice so sweet it felt sticky. "I know it's hard, darling," she told me once, stroking my hair like I was some stray cat she'd taken in. "But I'll take care of you now?" I was 9. I wanted to believe her, but Victoria never wanted to take care of me. She wanted me gone. She didn't yell, she didn't hit. She was too smart for that. Instead, she rewrote my reality piece by piece, turning my father against me like it was the easiest thing in the world. She would say things with a gentle sigh, her eyes filled with false concern. "Daniel, she's been acting out in school. Maybe she's just not adjusting well." "She doesn't listen to me, darling. It's like she doesn't respect me at all." "I think she needs boundaries." Boundaries, that was her favorite word. Suddenly, my father was stricter, harsher, less patient. My bedtime became earlier. My voice at the dinner table became smaller. I stopped getting a say in anything: what school I went to, what dress I wore for Christmas, whether I could keep my mother's old books. Victoria made the decisions, and my father let her. The worst part wasn't that she wanted to push me out. It was that she made him want it too. I can't remember the last time my father defended me. Not when Victoria snapped at me for forgetting to take my shoes off in the hallway. Not when she conveniently forgot to set a place for me at the dinner table. Not even when she told me in the coldest, quietest voice, "Your father deserves a family who appreciates him." I was his family. Or at least, I thought I was. By the time I was 16, I had learned the unspoken rule of our house. If Victoria didn't want it, neither did my father. By the time I was 18, I stopped wanting to fight for him. Now, at 26, I'm getting married. Mark, my Mark, would never let someone like Victoria into his life. He sees through people like her, the way I wish I had seen through her all those years ago. He holds me at night when the memories creep back. He listens when I talk about my father and the hollow space he left behind. He tells me that the past doesn't define me. And he's right. Which is why when I sent out the wedding invitations, I made a decision. I invited my father. I did not invite Victoria. And if she thinks she can just show up, well, I have something waiting for her. Weddings are supposed to be about love, about new beginnings, about two people coming together to build a life. But before you get to that part, there's the guest list. And if you think that's a simple process, then congratulations. You've never had a Victoria in your life. Mark and I sat at our kitchen table, wedding invitations spread out between us like a deck of high-stakes poker cards. Some were obvious. My closest friends, the family members who actually cared, the people who had been there for me through everything. Then there was him, my father. Mark didn't push me. He never did. He let me sit there, running my fingers over the paper, weighing what it meant. Finally, I sighed. "I'll invite him." Mark's gaze met mine. "And Victoria?" I let out a sharp laugh. "Not a chance in hell." His lips twitched, but he didn't argue. That's the thing about Mark. He doesn't need to fix me. He just lets me be. The call came 2 days later. I knew it would. I could practically feel it coming. "Dad, sweetheart, I got the invitation, but Victoria didn't." I rolled my eyes so hard I saw the back of my skull. "Yeah, Dad, that was intentional." Silence. The kind that drags out, heavy and loaded, because he doesn't know how to ask me to do what he wants. "She's really hurt," he said finally. I gripped the phone tighter. "She's hurt? She spent years making me feel unwanted in my own home, and she's the one who's hurt? She's your wife, Dad, not my family." More silence. And then, softer. "She's been good to me, Lena." I closed my eyes, pinching the bridge of my nose. There it is, the same line he's used my whole life. She's been good to me. Never she's been good to you. Never she's been good for us. Just him. I inhaled sharply. "You can come, or you can stay home with her. Your call." A pause, a sigh, and then, "I'll be there." I didn't say I'll believe it when I see it, but I thought it. Meanwhile, I should have known Victoria wouldn't take no for an answer. I could picture it perfectly, the way she would clutch her pearls, literal pearls because Victoria never did subtle, letting out a wounded gasp, playing the role of betrayed wife like she was auditioning for an Oscar. "She's tearing this family apart," she would whisper, voice trembling, eyes wide with manufactured heartbreak. "After everything I've done for her." And my father, ever the fool, would nod, would sigh, would run a hand down his face like this was somehow happening to him instead of being the result of his own weakness. But Victoria wasn't the kind of woman who relied on tears alone. No. She was already planning something. I could feel it. And that's fine. Because this time, so was I. People like Victoria don't expect to be caught. She built her life on lies, layer upon layer, stacking them so high that she thought no one would ever bother to look underneath. She manipulated, she deceived, and she smiled while doing it, so effortlessly, so naturally, like it was her birthright. And for a long time, I let her win, but not anymore. I've spent years collecting her secrets, quietly, patiently, carefully, and when the time comes, I'll burn her entire world to the ground. I was 17 when I realized she wasn't just ruining my life, she was cheating on my father. I was home alone when her laptop dinged with a new email. Normally, I wouldn't have cared, but the subject line caught my eye. Last night was amazing. I remember standing there, heart pounding, fingers hovering over the trackpad. It was wrong. It was so wrong. But so was she. So I clicked, and there it was. Message after message. Late-night meetups, hotel reservations, pet names that made my stomach turn. She wasn't just having an affair, she was having several. I took a deep breath, saved the emails, and from that moment on I knew. If she wanted to play dirty, I'd play smarter. The thing about people like Victoria is that they're greedy, and greedy people always leave a trail. Years later, when I was in college, I started digging. I wasn't just looking for proof of her affairs anymore. I wanted everything, so I checked public records, bank statements, transactions linked to the family business, and I found it. A hidden account. Money being funneled out in small, careful amounts. Thousands of dollars disappearing every year, quietly vanishing into the void. She wasn't just betraying my father. She was stealing from him. I compiled it all, screenshots, statements, proof, and I waited. Victoria's biggest mistake? Hurting people who had nothing left to lose. Her former best friend, Rachel, used to be loyal. They were inseparable once until Victoria betrayed her too. When I reached out to Rachel, she was hesitant at first. But when she realized what I was doing, she agreed to help. "She lies so easily," Rachel told me. "She ruins people and walks away without a scratch." Not this time. Rachel gave me everything she had, text messages, voice recordings, even an old letter where Victoria admitted to forging financial documents. With every new piece of evidence, the noose around Victoria's perfect little life tightened. And now I have it all. I hold the small black USB drive between my fingers. Every email, every transaction, every whispered confession. It's all here. Victoria thinks she's untouchable. That she can walk into my wedding, smile sweetly, and pretend she still controls my life. She has no idea what's coming. Weddings are supposed to be about joy, love, the start of something new. And for the most part, mine is. The venue is perfect. Warm golden lights hanging from the rafters, soft music weaving through the air, the sound of laughter and clinking glasses filling the space. My dress fits like a dream, my bouquet is made of my favorite flowers, and when I look at Mark, I see nothing but absolute love in his eyes. For the first time in years, I feel weightless, free. And then she walks in. I feel her presence before I see her. A shift in the atmosphere, a ripple through the guests, as quiet murmurs turn into hushed whispers. I don't turn immediately. I let the moment stretch, because I already know exactly what I'll see when I do. When I finally glance toward the entrance, there she is. Victoria, draped in a dress that screams, "Look at me." Deep red, sequined, too much. Always too much. Like she thinks she's the main character of this story, like she believes this is her night. And for a second, I almost laugh. She's so predictable. Her head is held high, her expression schooled into something just shy of smug. A small, polite smile plays on her lips, as if she's daring anyone to question why she's here. She moves through the crowd like she belongs, nodding at people, exchanging pleasantries, pretending she's welcome. But she isn't. Not here. Not today. I find my father in the crowd. Daniel. His posture is stiff, his shoulders slightly hunched, his face caught between guilt and embarrassment. He knew this would happen. He knew she'd pull something like this. But as always, he did nothing to stop it. My father, the man who used to tuck me into bed at night, who once swore he'd protect me from anything, has never been able to protect me from her. And now he just stands there, powerless, watching as she takes her place among my guests like she has every right to be here, like she hasn't spent years making my life hell. Beside me, Mark squeezes my hand. It's subtle, reassuring. I turn to him, and we exchange a knowing look. Because we were prepared for this. This isn't a disruption. This isn't a surprise. This is exactly what I was waiting for. Weddings are supposed to have defining moments. The vows, the first dance, the cake cutting. But tonight, the moment everyone will remember, the one that will be whispered about for years to come, is this one. The truth. The reception is in full swing. The wine is flowing, the music is playing, and laughter fills the air. It's the perfect scene of celebration, the kind of night where people let their guards down, basking in the warmth of love and family. The perfect moment for Victoria's world to collapse. Mark stands beside me as we raise our glasses for a toast. The screen behind us flickers to life, the guests turning to watch. This is for everyone who has supported us, I say, voice smooth, eyes flicking ever so briefly toward Victoria. She's perched at a table near the back, wine glass in hand, wearing that carefully curated expression of polite detachment. She thinks she won. She thinks she forced her way in and got away with it. I smile. She has no idea what's coming. The slideshow starts innocently enough. Photos of Mark and me, our first vacation, lazy Sunday mornings, laughter caught in motion. The guests smile, murmuring sweet things. Even Victoria looks bored, swirling the wine in her glass, pretending to be invested. Then the images shift. An email. A screenshot. Last night was amazing. Can't wait to see you again. Miss you, baby. The room stills. More messages appear. Different men, different dates, all with one thing in common. Victoria. Someone gasps. Someone whispers. Victoria stops swirling her wine. Her face drains of color. I can practically see her mind racing, scrambling, trying to process how could this be happening? How did I get my hands on these? And then, before she can even think of denying it, the bank statements appear. Money transfers, hidden accounts, thousands of dollars stolen. The murmurs turn into a wave of voices, confused, stunned, furious. And then, my voice, pre-recorded, calm, factual, fills the air. Victoria Monroe has spent years lying, manipulating, stealing. She made my father choose between her and his own daughter. She told him I was difficult, that I was a burden, and while she was busy turning him against me, she was also sleeping with other men and stealing from our family business. The weight of it slams down on the room. Victoria's chair scrapes against the floor as she shoots up, her voice sharp, desperate. This is fake. I turn, facing her fully. No, Victoria, this is justice. Daniel looks at her now, really looks at her, and I can see it. The moment of realization, the moment all those years of blind devotion come crashing down. Victoria is breathing hard, her eyes darting wildly, trapped. She thought she was in control. She was wrong. For the first time in my life, my father really sees her. Not the polished, perfect wife she pretended to be. Not the charming woman who coiled herself around him and whispered just the right things to make him believe she was his salvation. No, he sees her for what she truly is. A fraud. A liar, a woman who built an empire of manipulation and thought it would never crumble. And now, in front of everyone, it's all coming down. Victoria is still standing, frozen in place, her wine glass trembling in her fingers. Her mouth opens, but for the first time in her life, she has no words. The screen behind her still flickers with proof, her emails, her secret bank transactions, her text messages to men who weren't my father. She takes a sharp breath. This is a setup. Her voice is strained, brittle, her carefully curated image fracturing right in front of us. Daniel, you don't believe this, do you? My father doesn't answer right away. His face is pale, his jaw clenched so tight I can almost hear his teeth grinding. His hands tremble at his sides. For years, he defended her. For years, he looked away, but not anymore. You did this, he finally says, his voice low, shaking with rage and betrayal. All of it. Victoria lets out a breathy laugh, too sharp, too desperate. Baby, please, I would never. You stole from me. His voice rises, fury cracking through it. From our family business, you lied to me. You cheated on me. His eyes darken, his face twisted with something raw, and you took my daughter away from me. Silence. A suffocating, heavy silence. Then from the crowd, someone scoffs. A whispered, "My God." I glance around, watching the guests, Victoria's friends, her acquaintances, the people she spent years charming, now staring at her like they don't even know her. Because they don't. Not really. "Daniel, this is insane." Victoria tries again, her voice rising, growing shrill. "You're really going to believe her over me? Over your wife?" My father lets out a short, bitter laugh. "You're not my wife." Her breath catches. Not anymore. A murmur ripples through the crowd, and I feel it, the shift, the turn. Victoria looks around, realizing she's alone. No allies, no sympathy, only judgment, only the truth. My father straightens, his voice steady now, resolute. "I'm filing for divorce, and since you love money so damn much, let me make this clear, you're not getting a cent." A collective gasp. Someone stifles a laugh. And Victoria? For the first time in her life, she looks afraid. I watch as it happens, the unraveling. The final desperate attempt to salvage her pride. Her eyes flick to the guests, scanning for someone, anyone who might still be on her side. But no one steps forward, no one reaches for her hand. Her perfect little kingdom, gone. And then she does the only thing left to do. She storms out, the doors slam behind her, and the room exhales. And just like that, Victoria Monroe is nothing but a cautionary tale. Victoria is gone. But my father is still here. I find him outside, away from the lights and laughter, standing beneath the glow of a street lamp. His posture is different now, less rigid, less proud. He looks small in a way I've never seen before. For a long moment, I just watch him. This is the man who was supposed to protect me, the man who let Victoria erase me from his life, who looked away every time she made me feel like an outsider in my own home. And now? Now he looks like a man who just realized he lost everything. He hears my footsteps and turns. His face is lined with exhaustion, with guilt. His mouth opens, but the words don't come right away. It's almost funny. How do you begin to apologize for years of abandonment? Finally, he speaks. "I should have seen it," he murmurs, voice rough. "I should have protected you." I cross my arms. "Yeah, you should have." The words hang between us. He flinches. Maybe he expected me to brush it aside, to offer him immediate forgiveness, how to let him off the hook just because he finally saw the truth. But it doesn't work like that. I spent years waiting for him to see me, and when he didn't, I learned how to live without him. Now he's the one standing on the outside. "I was weak," he continues, rubbing a hand down his face. She made me believe things. About you, about myself. I let her control everything." I let out a bitter laugh. "Yeah, Dad, I noticed." His throat bobs. "I don't expect you to forgive me?" Good, because I don't. Not yet, maybe not ever. But I do feel something softer than anger, not quite as sharp as resentment. A door that isn't locked, just cracked open. "I don't know if we can fix this," I admit, my voice quieter now. "I don't know if I want to." He nods, his expression pained but understanding. "I'll wait." Later, when I return inside, Mark finds me instantly. His arms wrap around me, solid and warm, grounding me in the present. "How do you feel?" he asks. I let out a slow breath. Like I won, but not in the way I thought I would. Because revenge didn't fix everything. It didn't erase the past, but it did set things right. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. The music swells, and for the first time tonight, I let everything else fade away. The whispers, the fallout, the years of resentment, I release them all as Mark pulls me into his arms, his warmth steady, his hands sure. This is our first dance, our first moment as husband and wife, and for the first time in a long, long time, I feel at peace. The wedding continues, but now it feels lighter, like the air has been cleared, like the ghosts that have lingered over me for years have finally been exorcised. My real family, the one I built, not the one I was forced into, laughs and drinks, filling the room with a joy I never thought I'd get to experience. Mark's parents, my best friends, the people who have stood by me when my own blood did not. Even my father is here, watching from the sidelines. He doesn't force himself into my space, doesn't pretend that everything is magically fixed. But he's here. And that's something. Far away in a dim, lifeless motel room, Victoria sits alone. Her red dress is wrinkled now, her makeup smudged, her phone lying silent on the nightstand. No messages, no calls, no allies left. The woman who once ruled my life, who made me feel like an outsider in my own home, is now the one on the outside, alone, forgotten. Exactly how she wanted me to feel all those years. I don't feel pity for her. I don't feel satisfaction either. I just feel done. And that's enough. Mark dips me slightly as we dance, and I laugh, breathless. "Are you happy?" he murmurs against my ear. I don't even have to think about it. "Yeah," I whisper. "I really am. Because this moment, this love, this freedom, is my new beginning. And Victoria, she's nothing but the past."